Mic check, mic check. Hello, hello. Can you guys hear me? What's up, Vanessa? Do you see the one with the teeth? Oh, man. That was a very important detail they added in. How's everybody doing? Is there anybody out there that hasn't heard of this case? Hey, Jules, what's up? How you doing? D, Marlo, Callie, Lakeside, Gen B. What's up, guys? TGIF. I think we're going to try to do this every Friday, just a whatever type of deal, you know? Keep it open. Some icebreakers. Tonight we're going to talk about Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. Oh, man, you want to talk about a boogeyman? Nice. Yeah, right. Candy B says, nope, haven't heard of it. Yeah, this is out of California. 1985, I believe, roughly. Just Pam says he was active in 84 and 85, but it could be much earlier. Yeah, that's what I read, and that's what I've heard. You are correct. Ramirez is the creepiest of creeps. Oh, yeah. I mean, he is the epitome of darkness. I hear that, Susan. I can't tell. Are those sarcastic question marks? I can't tell. Kellyanne, what's up? My ex-boyfriend and I got pulled over because he was dried in type of car as the Night Stalker around 10 p.m. It was scary. Wow. Good police work, though. That's kind of how he got caught. This brave young boy got a good description. I think he even got a partial license plate. And we're going to talk about that. It's pretty interesting. BTK. Oh, yeah. I guess, yeah, he's pretty bad too. He definitely sends chills down your spine. What up? All right, let's get going. All right. So it says here Richard Ramirez was known by many names. His family called him Richie. Los Angeles KNBC called him the walk in killer. To others, he was the Valley Intruder, but the name that stuck, the one that the news media and Ramirez himself latched onto, was the Night Stalker. Yeah, of course, that's the name he liked. Those teeth. They've been chewing on metal. As far as authorities know, he was 24 the first time he took a life. June 2021 marks 37 years since Ramirez's first murder, or at least the first one that earned him a conviction. Before his 26th birthday, he would kill at least 13 more people and commit at least 11 sexual assaults in a wave of seemingly random attacks that terrified residents of Southern California in the summer of 1985. His crimes were deemed so cruel and callous that they earned him a whopping 19 death penalties. He died in prison on June 7, 2013, while awaiting execution. Yeah, nightmares. That's when they were kids. Those are his folks. Richard Ramirez grew up in El Paso, Texas, the product of a violent family, according to 1996 biography. Ramirez's family was physically father was physically abusive. Richard's older cousin, Miguel Ramirez, often bragged about crimes he committed in Vietnam, even showing young Richard a photo of himself posing with the severed head of a Vietnamese woman he had abused. This is a mugshot of Miguel. When Richard was 13, he watched as Miguel shot and killed his wife, Jessie. During an argument, Miguel was found not guilty by reason of insanity and was released 4 years later. In 1982, when Ramirez was 22, he moved from Texas to California. His crimes may have begun sooner than authorities first thought. Now here's that mugshot, Vanessa, or the sketch. Catherine Squires, he's one of those creeps that girls would swoon over during his court appearances too. Sick. Yep, we're going to talk about that briefly. Yeah, it seems so random, but he was just a random person. In 2009, police matched Ramirez's DNA with the sample collected at the scene of an unsolved murder of a 9-year-old girl in San Francisco in 1984. On June 28, 1984, Jack Vincow visited the mother's apartment in Los Angeles' Glassell Park neighborhood. He noticed a window screen missing, the front door unlocked, and his mother's belongings scattered around the home. Then he found his 79-year-old mother's body. Jenny Vincow's throat had been slashed, and she had been stabbed repeatedly. He ran to the building manager to call the police. Nearly 8 months passed after Jenny Vincow murder before Ramirez would claim another victim. All right, so now what I did was I found some archived news footage, and we're going to just kind of take a look at that. And it'll kind of fill in the blank spots and kind of even dive into the investigation, which is very interesting in itself. Yeah, basically he would look for anything that was it wasn't well lit. He would check the doors, he would check the windows. So basically you would have to keep everything completely locked and well lit. Like this was a guy who wanted to be a serial killer. He wanted to be the most prolific. That was his goal, to be the worst. Yep, not him. Men, women, whatever. Oh man, yeah. Epitome of creep.
Barbara Chase never thought of using a gun until now. Fear is her motivation. Fear of the person who the authorities believe killed 2 people in her Monrovia neighborhood and up to 5 more in the San Gabriel Valley.
It's either that or be a sitting duck. I have grandchildren. They come to stay. Should I sit by and watch them get killed, or should I try to save them?
Do you like the idea of having to learn how to use a gun?
No. I find it appalling. I find it heartbreaking. I find it all those things.
Chase isn't alone. Enrollment at the Santa Anita firing range is up 150%. For the first time, 35% of the students are female, and most are here because of
The scary part is when everybody started getting guns, so did he. He went and got a gun.
the killer. The Santa Anita firing range isn't the only place people are turning to for help. In neighboring Arcadia, for example, the police department has stepped up its efforts for the first time in years.
We have hired several additional officers on an overtime basis and put them on the street during primarily the hours of darkness.
The lieutenant says the daily calls have doubled from frightened residents who aren't sure what to do. The police tell them to make sure they secure their windows and doors with proper locks. That helps explain why sales of special locks and
Man, it's almost like a wild animal was on the loose. Like some kind of science experiment like escaped from the lab or something.
security systems are up at this Los Feliz hardware store. Nancy Gilmore is buying a lock to secure her windows.
Well, I'd heard a lot about these burglars that have been happening, and also it's kind of hard in the summer. You know, it gets hot in an apartment and you want to leave your window a little bit open, but also not have anybody be able to get in.
The authorities believe that one man who looks like this is responsible for at least 14 recent attacks, including 7 murders. They say the same man might be responsible for as many as 30 such incidents. Elizabeth.
Yeesh. All right, this one is from, looks like August 14th of 1985. Police hunt down the Night Stalker, who's responsible for sadistic murders. So this is like some archive footage that I was able to find.
500 others remain listed as missing in action. Officials in Los Angeles are offering a $10,000 reward for information leading to the capture of the so-called Night Stalker. He's the sadistic killer wanted for a series of murders and rapes. KNBC's Phil Schumann.
Those who don't already have guns are buying them. Locks are selling well, too. Meanwhile, investigators have distributed this composite all over Southern California.
Sheriff's Department, Martinez, help you?
Callers are flooding the sheriff's department with reported sightings, but so far, no solid leads.
We do not have anything of substance as of yet, and absolutely nothing that indicates that the suspect is close to being apprehended.
Though there is a large task force working on this case, investigators believe the so-called Night Stalker will be caught because of a tip from the public. To help motivate someone to come forward, Los Angeles County officials have authorized a $10,000 reward. In Los Angeles, Phil Schumann reporting for NBC News.
Now looking ahead, here are some of the stories we'll be following today. Union Carbide will be answering questions.
This one is August 23rd, 1985.
Bombs in a family car. California's newest serial killer has reportedly struck in San Francisco. The so-called Night Stalker is blamed for 7 murders in the Los Angeles area. Now, police have linked the killer to a murder in San Francisco last weekend. Police say the only common thread in the killings is the time of day. The Night Stalker apparently picks his victims at random, entering their homes after dark through unlocked doors.
We're going to take a look at that,
There are 3 winning tickets in the $41 million New York lottery, but 21...
Nice. All right, this one is August 26th, 1985.
...area and burst into flames. All 8 people aboard, including Samantha's father, were killed. The so-called Night Stalker may have struck again. A man suspected of climbing through open windows to rape and murder those inside has been sought by authorities in connection with 14 murders and as many as 19 assaults in Los Angeles and San Francisco. Early Sunday, an attack fitting the same description was reported in Mission Viejo, California. Joe Rico of KNBC reports.
A pre-dawn break-in, a male victim shot, the female occupant sexually attacked. It's all too familiar to investigators who say the so-called walk-in killer has struck again. This time farther south in the bedroom community of Mission Viejo, south of Los Angeles. It was almost 3 a.m. Sunday morning. A 29-year-old woman told deputies an intruder shot her boyfriend in the head, then turned on her.
The intruder grabbed her, he sexually assaulted her and tied her up. And it appears that he went through the residence after that and then left the residence. She managed to get loose to where she could call us on the 911 line, and that's when we responded.
She survived.
Investigators say the attacker is on a statewide crime spree, attacking single women, elderly couples, children,
Wild animal.
any place where windows are left unlocked, the home's poorly lit. One of the latest attacks was in San Francisco. A 66-year-old man and his wife are both shot in the head following the break-in of their home. The man's death was the 14th murder by the so-called walk-in killer during the past 5 months.
Walk-in.
Authorities have launched a multi-agency task force to find the man they call a very cunning and dangerous killer. They also say they have a good description, a psychological profile, even a vehicle description, but nothing more. Joe Rico for NBC News, Los Angeles.
It's crazy that all that stuff with the Challenger was going on.
That the murder of a young woman last March was an isolated act of violence, but since then they've come to believe it was connected to a wide-ranging series of assaults by a killer who's become known as the Night Stalker, a killer who apparently struck again during the weekend. We have a report from Nadine Berger.
Police today continue to search for any clues in the near-fatal shooting of 29-year-old William Carnes and the rape of his girlfriend. They're apparently the latest victims of the Night Stalker, thought to be responsible now for 34 brutal attacks, 14 of them fatal. These serial killings, once confined to the near Los Angeles area, are now spread over 500 miles from San Francisco to Orange County.
How many of you think that there's actual murders out there? Because I know he's been through Arizona, Texas, different parts of California. How many unsolved murders? Put a 1 if there's murders, unsolved murders that are related to this guy that they haven't put together yet.
Just as before, the assailant entered a house in a quiet middle-class neighborhood in the pre-dawn hours on Sunday through an unlocked window and attacked the couple while they slept. Neighbors are terrified.
I just sleep with my hand on right by my bed and a sawed-off shotgun, which I always have.
Oh, what's up, Callie?
Why is that?
Because if anybody comes in my house, they're not leaving.
The killer, who attacks randomly, is described as white, 25 to 30 years old, with a predominant feature of badly stained teeth. So 5,000 flyers have been distributed to Los Angeles dentists asking for help with identification. And last week, San Francisco Mayor Dianne Feinstein announced ballistic tests have definitely linked the murder of a man there to the Night Stalker. But release of that information has outraged a Los Angeles sheriff frustrated by the difficulty of tracking a random murderer.
It places this community
up
in
for
jeopardy
debate
because it impedes our ability to go forward fully with the investigation.
A total of $35,000 in rewards has been offered, including today a $16 donation from this group of concerned school children. Today, the search for California's Night Stalker continues, and many residents sleep with their doors and windows bolted tight, despite
D says, I missed the question. Okay, D, so what I'm asking is, do you think that there's murders, unsolved murders out there that are actually were committed by Richard Ramirez that haven't been connected yet? They still remain unsolved.
100-degree temperatures. Nadine.
So a few hours after they put out his description, the whole city started kind of chasing him. And they caught him on the bus, they caught him in this neighborhood, and then they just beat the shit out of him. Damn, look at the back of his neck.
What's your name? Huh?
Man, they tried to kill him.
What's your name? I love it.
Terrorized, raped, and murdered. His killing spree was brought down with the help of this 13-year-old boy, James Romero. He's now 45, living in Arizona.
He looked right at me.
James is describing his face-to-face encounter with Ramirez on a summer night back in 1985. The night Ramirez stalked his home here in Mission Viejo. James was up late in the garage after a family road trip.
All of a sudden, I hear footsteps in the gravel. Crunch,
Definitely
crunch,
frightening.
crunch, crunch.
James bolted into the house,
This kid's
woke his
badass,
parents
though.
up. They called 911. Ramirez took off, but not before fearless James ran outside.
And I look and I see the car and I get part of the plate.
James is badass.
Detectives quickly figured out James encountered the Night Stalker. Investigators kept coming to the house and asking him to look at random cars.
They kind of just coached me on, hey, we're not going to stop. We can't sit and get out of the car. We can't look at it. We're going to drive through this parking lot. And if you see a car that looks like the one you saw, let us know.
Police would find Ramirez's car. James confirmed it. With that confirmation, they lifted a fingerprint and ultimately identified Ramirez. It wouldn't be long until his capture.
When I was in court, I was in the room sitting with him. I was on the witness stand 8 hours. The defense attorney had me swear in, and they put the Bible, and they had me swear in standing right next to him.
Yeah, look, his hair's like super long right there.
Comes about by circumstances and like a recipe, poverty, drugs, child abuse. These things, contribute to a person, to a person's frustration and anger, and at some point in life, he explodes.
Perhaps for Richard Ramirez, that anger and frustration turned to rage, which he in turn took out on his victims. His killings were so sadistic and brutal that even experienced detectives were shocked.
He took a woman in her 60s and stomped her to death with his foot.
Wow.
Leaving an imprint of a shoe on the side of her face. From that to just executing somebody upon walking into a room after he entered a house. He strangled, he used a ligature, he used a tire iron on a young girl, beat her, left her for dead.
Will your anger subside if you had to wipe up your mother's blood?
Ramirez has died. Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker, put fear and terror into California residents in the 1980s. He died of liver failure while he was on death row. Patrick Healy covered the Ramirez investigation and his arrest in 1985. Patrick joins us now. He's live in East L.A., where Richard Ramirez was ultimately captured. Patrick.
Chuck, Colleen, all of us in L.A. in the 1980s remember the fear, the sleepless nights. When and where would the Night Stalker strike again? Well, fear did not paralyze this neighborhood. The residents spotted him. They took him down for police. Ramirez vowed vengeance. Instead, his liver gave out. Whether satanic serial killer Richard Ramirez acquired any sense of remorse during his quarter-century on San Quentin's death row, now we probably never will know. Dead at 53 of liver failure, Ramirez is remembered for his own description of himself at sentencing as a servant of Lucifer.
I will be avenged.
Lucifer dwells within us all.
It's too bad that
was
the
crazy.
death penalty took so long.
Frank Salerno and his
Pure
partner
evil.
Gil Carrillo worked tirelessly that summer of 1985 to track down the Night Stalker, who was entering homes under a cloak of darkness, assaulting and killing victims chosen at random, terrorizing the entire metropolitan area. He was convicted of 13 murders.
He had no empathy, no feelings, nothing. He never showed any remorse.
14 murders in like
He
1
wanted to be
year.
known as the greatest serial killer that ever, ever lived.
After a fingerprint in a car led to the identification of Ramirez, his mug was plastered all over the news while he was on a bus returning from Arizona. Walking in East L.A., he was recognized by residents in the 3700 block of Hubbard Street. They took him down, gave him a good pummeling, and held him for police. Arriving moments later, an NBC4 News photographer, Dino Castro, who will never forget what he saw through his viewfinder.
That's when he looked right at me at the camera, and that's when the hair on the back of my neck stood up because I thought I was looking at evil. It was like, oh, that's him. That's really him.
He asked me, he said,
No, you
Frank,
were.
he said, are you going to attend my execution? I said, yes, I am.
A promise Frank Salerno fully intended to keep had the Night Stalker not died before his date with the executioner.
Was the moment the about-to-be-convicted killer did not want to face.
You give up your right to be present while the verdicts are read here in open court.
Yes.
The judge granted the request, and over the intercom to his holding cell, Richard Ramirez heard the verdicts.
Guilty of murder.
13 murders.
Guilty of rape.
11 sex crimes.
Guilty of burglary of the residence and dwelling house.
19 additional felonies.
Guilty.
Guilty on all counts. And when the prosecutors and investigative team emerged into the court's overcrowded hallway, their relief was apparent.
Relieved is a good word. Glad it's over.
Legal proceedings against the devil-worshipping drifter began 4 years ago. Early on, he had displayed a satanic symbol and proclaimed, "Hail Satan."
Hail Satan.
Ramirez became less talkative when trial itself finally began 9 months ago. The prosecution presented 138 witnesses, their testimony filling 8,000 pages, but never did the jury hear from Ramirez himself. His attorney said the verdicts elicited no reaction from Ramirez in his cell.
He was not surprised at all. Like I said, he expected this decision to come down. He felt from weeks back that he could not get a fair trial.
Jurors cannot yet discuss the case publicly because they still must decide the punishment. But it is clear it has not been easy for them, particularly not after one of the original jurors was murdered last month by her suicidal boyfriend.
See what? Wow. I mean, what does that mean? Is that in any way connected? Is that a coincidence? One of the jurors, suicidal, I think, did he say ex-husband? Killed her during the trial. Right there, that should have been like a mistrial. I wonder if that was the intention.
But with an alternate, the jury restarted and took 22 days of deliberation. The lead prosecutor is not ready to relax.
I do not lose sight of the fact that we have more to do, and we don't want any glitches between now and the end of this, or else we talk about having to do the whole thing over.
To date, it has cost taxpayers more than $1.5 million. Next week, the jury will be asked to decide the fate of Ramirez. Defense attorneys do not want to discuss what evidence they'll present at the penalty phase. They don't want to reveal how they'll try to persuade the jury not to send Ramirez to death row. But the defense
he looks
did
possessed.
say Ramirez himself will not take the stand to argue for his own life.
So after his arrest and sentencing, Ramirez did not spend his time in prison lonely. Women who suffered from the affliction known as Hybristophilia bombarded the big-eyed, skeletal-looking man with attention. Women who found themselves attracted to serial killers lined up for the chance to love the Night Stalker. One woman, Doreen Loy, began writing Ramirez as early as 1985, right after his arrest. She wrote him more than 75 letters. In 1988, the couple was engaged. They didn't marry until October 3rd, 1996. Doreen Loy became Richard Ramirez's wife. Loy had repeatedly stated she would commit suicide when Richard Ramirez was finally put to death in a serial killer type Romeo and Juliet style pact. The couple eventually separated, and Loy never got the chance to live up to her promises. Perhaps she had cold-blooded feet. Jeez. And this is one strange cat. I mean, just looking at him, there's kind of something different about him, you know? Yeah, like an empty shell. Oh, Christopher Valdez says, I'm from East LA. I remember the day he was caught very clearly. Yeah, I bet you guys celebrated. I bet the whole country celebrated with you guys. Just to see him get his ass beat like that, all wrapped up, looking pathetic in the back of that car. You know, like, you ain't so tough. You know, when I'm not sleeping, you know, when you're comfortable laying in your bed, this dude's like creeping through your house with a hammer or something. Like, dude, come on. But that don't make you tough. It makes you creepy and evil. Yeah, who else acted like that? Ted Bundy, right? Didn't he even represent himself? He made a mockery of that court, in my opinion. I don't even think he did a good job. Yeah. Kind of reminds me of the whole Manson thing, too. Kiwi Bridget, I do too, Christopher. So you both are local, and Kiwi says, my sister and I were terrified every night. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't even there. This guy's not even alive, and it still creeps me out. Because, there's people out there that aspire to be like this guy. Yep, Bundy. Smiling, he had his little fangirls out lining up. Did he get married too? I heard he got a girl pregnant. Yeah, I think that's fact. Somehow he was able to sneak like a conjugal. Somehow he was able to get time with the woman. I believe. Yeah, there's some corruption there, huh? Somebody lost their job. Armchair Observer says, Son of Sam held the city of New York in fear for a while too. Yep. Another satanic, ritualistic type situation. Very similar. Random. I think more people might have been involved with that one. I think Berkowitz even at some point admitted to that he was working with other people. Yeah, he must have got like some type of medical permission to wear, because there's a couple of different videos and pictures that I found where he had these strange glasses on. I wonder if he has like something going on with his eyes, or if he was just able to manipulate the system and get it. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. So he drew that while he was in the back room on his hand. Like, what the fuck? This dude just looks creepy. Like, I don't think your cheekbones could get any higher without being like over your eyeballs. It's like a skeleton. Yeah, I think there's more victims. I think if it wasn't for the case that happened in San Francisco, I don't know if this would have all broke loose or not. I'm not sure. Berkowitz. Yeah, that dude is crazy. There's some interviews with him. They're pretty interesting. Yeah, I could see that. There's this fighter that puts like implants in his biceps and does all this cosmetic surgery. It looks so crazy to me. It's like, if you're a fighter, why would you want like sharp cheekbones? You're gonna get cut. Like, I would try to knock your implant out of your face. I would make that a goal. Yep. I know the FBI made it a very big point to do their best to try to understand these serial killers, because they really don't know a lot about them. They know they're doing a lot more these days with proactive research and, the dark triad, watching people that are abusing animals, arson, showing those gateway, I guess, red flags, so to speak. So they're doing good on that. They're even creating registries, making it a felony, animal abuse and stuff like that. So, I mean, eventually it's going to be really hard to get away with crime like this, especially with DNA. The way they're able to collect DNA or recognize DNA and separate DNA, like through vacuums and like all this new technology. So yeah, it's going to be very difficult to kind of do what he did. Especially with like AI, I'm assuming. Wow. I know there's guys like putting like calf implants and stuff like that. It's weird. Psychofox99 says, didn't Bundy help catch another well-known serial killer? Not sure. Oh yeah, check out these teeth. Yeah, that was spot on. A tall gray. We need to get into some sci-fi. One of these days, we'll do a sci-fi show. And we'll have all the tinfoil hat wearers come in with all the conspiracy theories involving UFOs and wow. This one was actually a pretty good sketch. I think this was from The Boy, if I'm not mistaken. His uncle. So this is his uncle who basically went to Vietnam and kind of lost it, I think. And he was hurting women and documenting it and showing it to him when he returned. So yeah, they definitely traumatized young Richard Ramirez. My bad. Aluminum foil. And it's important that it's aluminum, or else they will control your mind. Trust me. Oh. Lorraine Doone, by providing insight into the mind of a serial killer, Bundy aided detectives in capturing Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. Wow. Yeah, because I know whenever they would capture these serial killers, they would do their best to study them and try to, give them favors. Kind of like that's kind of what reminds me of the whole Hannibal series, like Silence of the Lambs, and them reaching out to Hannibal Lecter and stuff like that. Because they really did that stuff. And then they would document it and use it in cases to try to build a profile. Ed Kemper. Yeah, I covered him a couple times. Another monster. Very smart, very evil, but goes into great detail on anything law enforcement asks him. Yeah, very eager. FYI, interviewed him for, you mean FBI, I'm assuming. Interviewed him for behavioral profiling. I don't think that's a girl's top. I think that's like 70s, like flower power styles, hippie styles. Emma says, I used to live by the Green River. I was scared he was going to get me and drag me in the river. Jeez. And what's sad is he did do that to people. So here's a young. I wonder if he was a killer in this photo. He looks maybe 17, 18 right there. What? Just Pam says, my babysitter's son came home from Nam with a thumb in a box. I was 4 or 5, scared the shit out of me. Vietnam messed up. Yeah, that's horrifying. Like, imagine seeing so much blood and gore that just a thumb is like nothing. It's like, oh, what? It's just a thumb. Like, I find these all the time. Wow. And his uncle killed his aunt right in front of him. And he only spent 4 years, I think, in an insane asylum. So they said he was unfit, and 4 years later he was released. Blouse. That's funny. There's those teeth. Remember those in the sketch? What the? He targeted everybody. Yeesh. Looks like a zombie. Like if he bit you, you would turn into a zombie. Marlo, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, man, I'm about to give these guys nightmares. Watch this. I don't want to give myself nightmares now. Here, he looks kind of funny. We'll leave it on that one. That's a good question, Jerry. I bet you know there is. Because there's some people that will pick up a hitchhiker. To me, it's like, those are the gambling type. They're like, all right, let's pick up this guy. I'm going to give him a 60% chance he will not kill me. Right? It looks like he tried. Pretty sure he made it through the cement. Or at least part of it. Yeah. Tax cut, what up? Susan Oswalt says, my brother served in Nam, wouldn't talk about it. When he died 6 years ago, we found out he was a highly decorated sharpshooter. Damn. Thank you guys so much. That makes me proud to hear stuff like that. But I guarantee he's seen some messed up stuff. But think about all the messed up stuff that he prevented. Oh wow, yeah. It definitely seems risky. Well, what's funny is not too long ago, I was traveling and my serpentine belt snapped. And I pulled over, and the first person, and I was out in the middle of nowhere. And the first person I flagged down stopped and picked me up. It was him and his like new wife, and they were young kids. And he picked me up and dropped me off where I asked him to. But he had a big ass 45 on his hip. He didn't look scared at all. He's like, oh, you need a ride? He was one of those I wish a motherfucker would type of people. Anne Rule? Oh, that was his girlfriend, fiance? I didn't know she was a true crime writer. How spooky is that? It's like a True Detective episode. Wow. Yeah, if he ever had braces, he ate them. POW, 7 years in Korea. Wow, D. Shout out to all the veterans, especially those Vietnam veterans that came back with all those. I guess, I mean, war's war. It's all the same, I guess. Just as bad as the next. PTSD. Well, guys, we got about 5 more minutes. What's up? Anything interesting going on? Oh, yeah. What a crazy, pointless war. I guess all war is pointless. Yep. Sunshine Kick says, what an amazing man. God bless him for what he did for us. Amen. Yep. Shout out to the veterans. Yep. We just jump started your weekend, Olivia. With Sleuth Intuition's new Friday night true crime live stream. Shoot me some emails of some good cases. I might do the smiley face killer next. It takes some calls. You guys want to say hi to Jazzy? She's been sleeping right here the whole time. Here, let's put her in the camera. She's such a love cat. Can you hear her? Everybody keeps telling me to put her on screen. She's so tiny. Oh, was that you, Susan, who was asking? All right, guys. We are at the 1 hour mark. I hope you like the true crime live stream. I'll try to get through all that stuff, all the information quick. That way we can kind of hang out and digest some information a little bit longer. Oh, she's so cute. All right, guys. Have a good night. Have a safe weekend. Take care.